Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my Week 11 battle for the second season of the UPA D-League. This week we will be going up against Ange, coach of the Maine Absols. Please go check her out. I will link her Twitter in the description down below. And yeah, so this is the final week of the regular season. Excuse me. It's the final week of the regular season for UPA, so there's a lot going on. But basically, from the games that have happened here, based on the events that have happened, I clinch playoffs if I just have to not get 6-0'd. If I lose 5-0, I still clinch, and if I win, I obviously clinch. But for Ange, it's a little more dire. If she loses, she's out, but if she wins, she clinches playoffs, and she will be the final seed. So, yeah, so it's really big for her. Still relatively big for us, as, like, because of the way this went, I couldn't meme. It would just be unfair to both Ange, and, well, not really unfair to Ange, like Ange would get a free win essentially, but it'd be unfair to her competitors, as I would basically be saying, here Ange, take this free win and get into playoffs. So I still had to be serious, but keep in mind of the real fact that she could be a potential playoff opponent, so I didn't want to show my entire hand. So with that in mind, if you want to know more about the team that I am bringing, I did upload a team builder video. There will be a link for it in the description below. But for just a quick overview, we brought Choice Bandit Azumarill, sort of specially defensive Sub-Calm Mind Celebi, Choice Scarfied Dragon, Life Orb Tornadus, physically defensive Skarmory, and Assault Vest Delphox. Looking at Ange's team, she brought the Kyurem, the Mega Sableye, the Jirachi, the Tapu Bulu, the Rabombi, and the Heliolisk. Not too many big surprises here. A little afraid that, not really afraid, I'm glad to see there's no Nidoking, because that was a pretty big offensive threat. Heliolisk is a pretty big threat to my team as well, so I do need to watch out for that. But beyond that, I don't really think, oh, no Starmie also was a big thing, because like that pretty much invalidates my Celebi right away. Excuse me, the only exception being I can kind of switch into Heliolisk a little better, but Heliolisk gets U-turn, so, I mean, yeah, whatever. Celebi, again, just kind of just seems invalidated in every single match I bring it, but anyways, looking at the lead matchup, Delphox actually looks insanely good against her, like, not even a word of a lie. It looks really good against her, so I'm actually, like, I thought for a really long time that I wanted to lead with my Skarmory because she has never once led with her Mega Sableye, so I could safely get up my hazards if I lead my Skarmory and just click Stealth Rocks, but I was so afraid of anything else. Like, if she let Heliolisk seem like an obvious lead, and that takes advantage of Skarmory relatively easily, and even like Jirachi, like I guess like the two of them exchanging rocks, I didn't really want rocks on my side of the field, so I wasn't really sure about leading Skarmory, but Delphox looks really good and looks to have a pretty decent matchup against her entire team, so I will just lead off with that, as we do see here that Ange leads off with the Kyurem. So I have no idea what this Kyurem wants to do, but what I do know is that even if she is modest specs, there is absolutely no way with the bulk investment and the Assault Vest that I have that she can knock me out. So I am actually going to do a little bit of scouting, and I'm just going to click the Dazzling Gleam button, as both Dazzling Gleam and Fire Blast do have the same role against Kyurem, or like very similar roles. Like, I think maybe Fire Blast is a little bit, like literally just a little bit extra, like maybe a 4 to 8 points of damage, but in order for me to properly scout, I need to hit this. So I click the Dazzling Gleam button so that way I do not miss with Fire Blast. And as we do see here, that is an offensive Kyurem, and this Draco Meteor definitely tells me that she is it tells me that she is specs. It doesn't really reveal modest or not. So with that in mind, with her, since I know she is 100% locked into Draco Meteor, I decide that, like, so there was kind of an option. I did kind of want to go into Skarmory here to try to set up my Stealth Rocks, but at the same time, if she doubles that into Sableye predicting that, that's really bad on my part. So me going into Azumarill here is really free, and if she does predict my Skarmory and goes into Sableye, then I definitely pressure that out with either Play Rough. With Play Rough. So I do go into my Azumarill, and like we see here, Ange does stay in and fires off the Draco Meteor, so she is forced out. I 100% expect Jirachi to be the switch-in, so I actually click Liquidation instead of Play Rough, but she actually goes into Tapu Bulu, which, I mean, I guess she got me, but this does still so much damage, and she actually shows eject button here, so that way she can offensively pressure me out with the Heliolisk, which was a really cool bring on her part. And even then, like, Liquidation was kind of a bad play. only because like this Heliolisk can't have dry skin. I know she probably wouldn't switch Heliolisk into Azumarill, like just fearing the Play Rough, because Play Rough is overall for her team it was relatively free, barring the Jirachi. So I don't really think she'd want to switch it in like that. But still, I'm pretty much forced out here. My Celebi isn't really doing too much, and it does resist electric attacks, so I will go into my Celebi right here to try to resist it. I am sort of Spidef, so I can take this hit relatively well, but that damage definitely tells me that that is Life Orb. So like we see here, Ange does get a little bit of health back, but since I have leftovers and the grassy terrain is up, I do actually recover quite a decent amount of health. Not enough to the point where I feel like I can substitute freely, because obviously Hyper Voice goes through subs. And at the same time, I don't really want to Calm Mind, because I do think a Rabombi switch is kind of likely here. And even like, oh goodness, even a Jirachi switch is pretty likely here, only because it can U-turn and really pressure out my my Celebi. So I do instead fire off the Giga Drain. With grassy terrain, it's actually a roll to 2-hit KO, and does like it just does a ton of damage and gets me back a lot of health. So I'm gonna click the Giga Drain here, as Ange does fire off the U-turn, which does dent my Celebi quite a bit. But even as a resisted hit, even to offensive Kyurem, like I do a ton of, like 18% is a ton of damage. I'm actually surprised I didn't get, well, I guess I have a relatively high HP stat. I was gonna say I'm surprised I didn't get a little more health back, just because of Kyurem's HP stat. So yeah, once again, like Ice Beam is pretty free for her. I don't really think she would click Draco Meteor here, because I have shown that I am willing to switch in Azumarill onto Kyurem. So I still switch Azumarill here into Azumarill here, sorry, expecting the Ice Beam, which I know I can take, especially with the grassy terrain recovery. I definitely can take another one as well, and the only thing that would have really hampered me there would have been a freeze, which would have been really unfortunate. But right here, like, Play Rough is completely free. I can't let Heliolisk is definitely being a pain already, and I can tell that it definitely will be for the rest of this game, so I can't allow it a free switch in. And even if she goes Jirachi, like, I'm still chipping that for a little bit, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So I do click Play Rough here, and as we do see here, Ange does decide to switch in the Jirachi, which by that damage, that is 100% max physically defensive Jirachi. So yeah, she was definitely, like, this is definitely supposed to be her, like, blanket switch into this. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't really do a whole lot to this. I believe I switch out into my Skarmory here, just kind of trying to see what she wants to do with the Jirachi. Yes, I do go into that, and it's kind of a mistake because I thought I could get up my rocks, but she does go for the U-turn, which is a very smart play on her part. So now she gets Mega Sableye for basically free. So I definitely cannot set up my rocks here. I believe I switch into my Celebi here because, again, it's a little expendable with the amount of health it's at. I guess I could sort of check the Heliolisk, but realistically the only way I was able to check the Heliolisk as well as it did before was because the grassy terrain from the top of Bulu was still up. And if I have to rely on my opponent setting up grassy terrain for my Celebi to do its job, it's not really going to be doing the job that much. I was actually switching into Celebi here because it was the thing I wanted to get knocked off the most, and if she did go for the Will-O-Wisp trying to predict me hard switching into Azumarill, then I do have Natural Cure and I can just heal that off. So I do switch into Celebi here, and as we see here, Ange actually fires off the Foul Play, which does a lot of damage, and this makes sense because I do have Mega Gallade on my team, so this was definitely her Mega Gallade switching, because seeing this, I can't Calm Mind on this because then she just kills me with Foul Play, and I don't have enough HP to make a sub, so I figure I might as well get as much damage off on this as possible, so I will click the Giga Drain button here, and as we do see here, that is not a Spidef, that is not a Spidef Sableye, that is definitely physically defensive. So she was definitely anticipating this for my oh my goodness, my Mega Gallade, which 100% makes sense, and honestly Sableye was the only reason Mega Gallade didn't show up. I can't say the only reason, but it was definitely the biggest reason it didn't show up. But yeah, so even though she just killed my Celebi, this gives me absolutely a free switch into Azumarill, since I guarantee outspeed this, and this is the freest player up of my life. Again, same thought process, even if she did switch into Jirachi here, it's still Chip that I'm perfectly happy with taking, and she just lets the Bulu go down. So we are now 5-5, and with that kill, we do confirm that we are clinched for playoffs, and I'll talk about that after. But anyways, she switches into the Heliolisk, which is a huge problem for my team. I'm predicting the electric move because I kind of think that's what she's going for. I do switch into my Hydreigon as it does resist the electric move, and is arguably the thing that, like, HP matters on the least, I think. just looking at the structure for teams, since it doesn't really look like she has a Scarfer, barring maybe Rabambi, but I would more expect that to be Quiver Dance instead of, oh my goodness, Quiver Dance instead of Choice Scarf. But yeah, so I do switch into my High Dragon here, as I'm not really sure what she wants to do, but she does opt to go for the U-turn, which doesn't do too much. And as we do see here, Ange decides to offensively pressure me into the Rabambi. So I know I'm Scarfed. She doesn't know that yet. She just knows, she should know by the U-turn damage that I'm offensive, but she doesn't know I'm Scarfed yet. And I don't really want to reveal that yet, especially since I'm pretty sure she would be Focus Sash here, so she's either getting up, in my opinion, she's either clicking Moonblast to kill this off, or she's clicking Sticky Webs. And in either case, Skarmory is a good switch in as I resist the Moonblast, or I can defog the webs away. Even if she switches into Sableye, defog does bounce back, but it still clears all the hazards out. So I don't click the U-turn button because, again, I don't want to reveal I'm Scarfed quite yet, but she actually reveals the Baton Pass. I'm not too sure why she clicked that. Like, I understand the momentum part of it, but unless I'm mistaken, I thought Rabambi got U-turned, but I could totally be wrong. And then at the same time, we're not allowed to speed pass along with other stats, so she couldn't really Quiver Dance into Baton Pass. So I'm not really sure what it's for. I guess I didn't really ask, even though she did send me the team, and I actually just forgot to look. I guess I could do that later, but anyways. The point is, she gets momentum into her Jirachi, and I 100% cannot click the Stealth Rock button here, because this is definitely her trying to lure me to click the Rocks button. I believe I do just fire off an Iron Head here, predicting her to switch into the Mega Sableye, because... no, right. I do switch into the Delphox here, right. And this was a good play on her part, but anyways. So I switched into the Delphox here because I know I can live any hit, since she is 100% max physically defensive. She doesn't have enough investment to kill my Delphox from the range it was at. So I thought she would go for Iron Head, and then I could launch a Fire Blast afterwards, which, I mean, look at her team. She does not enjoy switching into Fire Blast. But she actually makes a really good play and clicks U-turn instead. And she actually sends in her Rabambi. She's basically forced to send this in, since I'm just like, what's the word? Oh my goodness, Brandon, talk. The rest of her team can't outspeed this since none of the other things are Scarfed. Rabambi is, we don't know what the Rabambi is. She could be Scarfed, but I kind of doubt it. Heliolisk is Life Orb, so I guess she could have gone into that, but either way. And then Jirachi is physically defensive, so no Scarf on that, and Kyurem is Specs. So her team doesn't enjoy switching into Fire Blast, which is why I made that play, since I knew it could survive. But she clicks U-turn and goes into Rabambi instead. So, like I did before, I'm just going straight into my Skarmory. I can't let this set up webs, but she does instead click the Moonblast button, which does make sense, as it would have killed my Delphox. Actually, I'm not really sure, because that would have been a resisted hit, and I have an Assault Vest. I didn't check. I just kind of figured she clicked Bug Buzz, to be honest, since that was neutral. But either way, regardless, yeah, my Skarmory takes the hit, no big deal, leftovers get off. I do click the Iron Head button, as that does a chunk to Rabambi, and again, I can't let her bounce my hazards back, because I really don't want hazards to be on my side of the field. So here, with her Sableye out now, and with my Celebi gone, I do kind of anticipate her to click the Will-O-Wisp button, I'm not gonna lie. So I do switch into my Tornado, so that's definitely the thing I want to get burned the most out of everything. But she actually switches into Heliolisk here. So we actually had this discussion after the match, and she still has to fear Z like Superpower or Z Hammer Arm or whatever, like fighting attack basically. She has to fear the fighting attack here, even though I actually have, like, I've admitted to myself I haven't brought Physical Torn as much as I definitely would have liked to this season. But either way, she definitely, I think, she's scared out, in my opinion, so I think she switches out. And even if she doesn't, I do click the U-turn button here to try to get some momentum on her, or basically sack Delphox, since it's not doing too much at this point. So I do go for the U-turn, and this is really big, because my U-turn, she switches in Rabambi, which is huge. So the potential sash on this is broken, and just based on my team composition, I pretty much have to go into this. And I mean, this is basically me screaming, I have a Choice Scarf on me, which is unfortunate, but it's definitely necessary, because again, looking at the rest of her team, she does not enjoy switching into Fire Blast, even from this thing. Fire Blast is guaranteed 2 KO on everything, assuming I hit, and she actually just elects to let the Rabambi go down. So we are ahead 5-4 in this match. As we do see here, Ange does switch into the Kyurem, which Fire Blast cannot kill from here, but Ice Beam definitely does. So at this point in the game, I'm 100% sacking Delphox. it's with the amount of health it's at, it's not doing much. Oh, excuse me. So unfortunately, Delphox doesn't do too much in its debut, but even Ange after the match said that it was a huge nuisance, just from a revenge killing standpoint, just because of its speed tier, pretty much. So yeah, unfortunately, down goes the Delphox, but again, since I know that she is locked into Ice Beam, this does grant me a switch into my Azumarill, and again, this is a pretty free player off on my part. She does elect just to get damage on my Azumarill, and Azumarill claims another kill with a player up. So down goes the Kyurem, but now Ange switches into the Heliolisk to offensively pressure me, and at this point, with Sableye still up, and with all of her Rock Weak Mons gone, Skarmory is definitely my most expendable member, so I go into that, but I believe, oh right, Ange does just click Hyper Voice here. So I'm perfectly fine. I still click the Roost button just in case she wants to do something other than kill me, which she actually elects to U-turn, and I believe she goes into the Mega Sableye here, yeah, because she can't let me set up rocks. So I click the Roost button here, which is really good. Now I'm guaranteed to get to like live a hit. So now, again, same thought process as before. I switch into Tornadus because it's definitely the thing I want to be burned the most out of what's left, because because I just expected to have Will-O-Wisp for both my Mega Gallade and my Azumarill. And right here, I know that Hurricane is a guaranteed kill from this. Even if she switches in anything else, Hurricane plus any other move can kill everything on her team. But I'm going to do something that I haven't done literally the entire season, and I'm going to miss a Hurricane. So you know what? For 11 games, I think I brought this to 10 games, so for 10 games, only missing a single Hurricane, that's still pretty good on my part, so I'm going to be fine with that. So yeah, I do, again, just click the Hurricane, as it was relatively free. Again, like same thought process. Even if she switched in something else, I could just click another move with Tornadus, and that can kill it after. So yeah, down goes the Sableye, which is really huge for my team, and then Ange does switch into the Jirachi, which I'm not really sure. I know I can't knock out with Dark Pulse here, but what I do want to do is try to get my Stealth Rocks up, because at this point in the match, the best way that Ange is going to be able to get back into this game is if she tries to make doubles predicting me. So I basically want to punish her for that and get up my Stealth Rocks with my Skarmory. So I do click the U-turn button here. The chip damage is negligible because I'm burned, but I do go into my Skarmory here. As we see, Ange pulls out the Wish. So now my Stealth Rock play is even more valid, because even if I click Iron Head on the Heliolisk, it's just going to get a ton of HP back with Wish. So I still go for the Stealth Rock here for the same purpose as I stated before. Her best way to win this game is to try to make fancy switches to try to capitalize on me predicting stuff. So I basically just want to punish her for doubling. So again, I still deem Skarmory is definitely my most expendable member. So right here, I'm actually just going to click Iron Head to try to chip this down and put it in range to where I can freely spam Dark Pulse with my Hydreigon. So she actually doesn't click Thunderbolt here. I'm not extremely sure as to why, but probably to make sure that I don't have to spam Dark Pulse with my Hydreigon, I'm not gonna lie. So I believe, yeah, I do click Iron Head on this turn still, as she does click the U-turn button on her Heliolisk, and she does send in the Jirachi, which doesn't take too much, but on this turn, I know that, I know that Jirachi can't do too much to me, so I do think that this is a pretty free time for me to Roost up, just in case she does something like this, and clicks the Healing Wish button to try to heal up her Heliolisk, because that's definitely the thing that's looking to get her back into this game, as it's pretty much her only hope. But again, at this point, I let my Skarmory go down, because again, it's really expendable now that there's no Jirachi. But with that Life Orb hit and the rocks, it is guaranteed in range of Draco Meteor from my Scarf Hydreigon. So that is going to be the game. GG to Angela, and we have clinched playoffs, baby. Unfortunately, we did have to knock out Ange, so I'm sorry for that, but I mean, she gets it. It's just part of the game. I had to make it a good match because there was actual stakes riding on this. I couldn't meme or anything like that. And it was actually a really fun game to try to navigate around her her Mega Sableye to make sure that, like, I just had to have conviction to never click rocks, basically, which was really annoying when she still had her Kyurem and her Rabombi around, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so I'm actually really, barring pretty much the Celebi, and like only the Delphox came up a little short, only because I think she was Specs Kyurem. If she wasn't boosting item, then my Delphox would have taken a lot less damage from that first Draco Meteor. But yeah, other than that and the Celebi, my team actually worked really well, which I'm really happy with. But yeah, so we are going up in. No matter how we did, we couldn't get a first round bye, so we will be playing in the quarterfinals. I'm not too sure who. I know the other teams that'll be in the quarterfinals is going to be Clyde and Blitz. So I'm playing one of those two, or either CMR or African Goku. Those are the two people racing for the last spot. So yeah, so I have no idea who I play. I probably won't know by the time I edit this, because I want to edit this like pretty much after I record it. But yeah, so I guess to find out who I play, just keep your guys' eyes out on the channel next week for when our quarterfinal team builder goes live. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.